Welcome to Focus. I'm Pearl Alley, your host. In tonight's guest, we have Gladys Villalobos. Welcome to Focus, Gladys. I'm so excited to have you on the show. You've got some great pieces, and tell us a little bit about what you do.
Well, first of all, thank you. I feel really great being here. Actually, what I do right now, and I've been doing for the last years, is silk. I'm addicted to silk. I think silk is the most beautiful product to work on, and that's mainly what I do.
Now, have you always worked with silk, or do you do other paintings?
I do other. I started with, from college with art. I did oils, acrylics, watercolors, commercial art, but lately, all I do, I'm just focusing on silk, which is what I started doing once I moved here to Brevard.
Well, where are you from originally?
Well, even though I was born here in the United States, my origins are from Venezuela.
Venezuela.
That's where my family is from.
Beautiful.
But we've been here a very long time.
I heard it's a gorgeous country.
It is very beautiful.
And your pieces reflect so much color and brilliance of, I would think, the colors of Venezuela and the tropical feel. And let me just bring up one of your pieces. You've got and you made pillows actually out of these, so they're absolutely gorgeous pieces.
Oh, yes, thank you. Actually, I did start with pillows. I find pillows are a useful decoration tool in every house. And I find that you can do so many colors to it. You can do so many different designs to it. And the good thing about the pillows is that the way I do them, I do envelope type pillows. That means you can take it out. You can wash, yes, because it's envelope. It's easy to take out and put back in. I do my colors. I set the colors with a steaming, so it will not wash out. You can wash them and put them back on again.
I'll hand you that one, and you can put it in there. Beautiful work, and you even have some gold paint on there. Now you're saying it's washable. How do you start with the silk? What would you start with? Well,
the silk, you have to stretch the silk like a drum. And then, you know, the dye, it's actually dye on silk. So the dye flows on its own. And so you have to use a resist to stop the color from flowing. After you start using the resist and work on silk so many years, you get used to know exactly where the flow of the dye is going to stop. So that's why I can handle it so easily now.
Now, where the resist is, does that take away the color? Like on some of these pieces here, you have another one here. I love this.
This one has a white resist, and that's why it has a white line. That's where it stops, and it doesn't allow the dye to move to the other side of the colors. And when you wash it, then you see the white line, but it's meant to be like that.
Now, do you know when you have a pillow like this, and here's that envelope she was talking about. I love that. I love it because you're saying you can wash this and
definitely.
Just hand wash it or machine wash it, or how would you?
Normally, I could put it in a washer, in the washing machine. It doesn't matter. You can do it hand, any way you want to. And silk is a very strong fabric. It's very resistant. Actually, parachutes are made of silk.
My jacket's made of silk. I love it. Maybe I can get you to paint something on my jacket.
I would love to do that. The other thing is it's pet resistant. I have dogs in the house. They play with the pillows, and the pillows are intact.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Because it's so very hard and so beautiful and so soft. You will feel that it will, just rip off or something. No.
Isn't that something?
Stay.
Now, the picture that's in between us right here, tell us a little bit about that. I absolutely love this, and that's on silk also, right?
It is made under silk. When I was working on oils, I did a series of women in distress. Women were sad, and so I researched the animal, the salamander.
And you can see that salamander right in the picture right in here.
Salamander is...
why would you put a salamander in there?
Salamander is an animal that lives in cold and hot. They change according to the environment. So it's just like saying the image of the woman. If you are troubled, if you're sad, don't worry. Just get into the environment and cheer up.
I love the detail you get with silk. I had no idea that you could get that detailed with it. So are you painting it with a fine brush, or how do you work with that? Or do you?
I use brushes, thin brushes. I use sponge. I even use paper. I use napkins. It's just, I get so involved in my silk. And I find like the silk is my best friend now.
Oh.
She talks to me, I talk to it. And whenever I go to sleep, I always tell my work, I'll be back tomorrow and see what's come out during the night. Because the silk does its work on its own.
Well, you have so many great pieces here. I want to be able to get through all of them on the show. And I'm going to hold this one up. I'll just cover myself up here and see if Jim can...
That's a tapestry. Silk can be wall art. It can be pillows. It can be scarves. It could be so many things that you, whatever you want to do, you're able to do on silk.
This is lovely, Gladys. I can't even believe this. It's just gorgeous.
I love it. And that has a lot of tropical colors, tropical animals. I guess it has to do with my background, yes.
Very, very nice.
Thank you.
Now, where you say have like the sky in the background and then you have the leaves coming around, would you handle that just like you would a watercolor, or how would you do that?
Yeah, I would say so. I would
say... You start with the background first and then bring the colors in, or how would you start that?
I start just outlining with the resist. And then I just put the colors as I go. Sometimes I put a color, start with the leaves, and then I find that I need to work with the bottom just to know how everything will fit together.
Now, you have so many pieces here. You show us the hats. I love the hat, and you brought one along, and we do have some pictures of your work, too. I'd like to be able to get through everything.
This is a hat that I came up with because, although the color is kind of orangey, because it was for a Halloween type of thing. And the good thing about it is that you can take it out, go for a walk under the sun.
I love this.
And it's so easy to fold back.
Let's just see this. Oh, I love this. Now, I don't know how good I'd look with a hat like this one. There we go. Yeah. Hey, I love it.
Beautiful. It matches.
Woo, it does match.
And the wonderful thing is that you can fold it. If you don't want to wear it anymore, maybe you went inside a place indoors, you just fold it.
Oh, look at that.
Put it back into your little case. And that's it.
I love that. Is it waterproof, water resistant?
Everything. Oh, no, it's not waterproof. It will get wet.
Okay.
But you can wash it. The color will not wash out. If it gets wet, the color will stay.
Oh, I love that. And you have another thing in a bag, too, right? You do the hats in a bag, and you do...
Oh, I'm doing scarves in a bag.
Scarves in a bag. I love this idea, too.
Silk chiffon. And I just play with colors. This is not designed. This doesn't have any artistic design on it. It's just playing with colors. And the good thing about it is that you just put it in a little bag. This is sort of like a courtesy bag, and people just like it.
I do. And you've even signed the bag. One of the things now, that's a silk, that's called a silk stitch, right?
Silk chiffon.
But I mean the stitch.
Yeah, that's done by hand. I do it by hand.
You do this by hand?
Although nowadays you can order them already made.
Oh, wow.
I might start doing that because, you know, it's tiresome to do that.
I would think so. Oh, my goodness. Now, we have some pictures, and you have another scarf here. Let's bring that on.
This is,
I love
this one is artistic. This one has a lot of design in it. It's,
maybe we can hold that up like this.
It was meant to be a bungabilla.
That is gorgeous.
And it's just, I find it beautiful.
And you have little flowers on here. I mean, just the work that you do is just, it's so professional looking, so beautiful.
I just love what I do. I think that when you love what you do, when you enjoy what you're doing, then the result will be something wonderful. And I have to say, I do have art education in my background.
And you said you were a graphics artist as well?
Commercial artist.
Commercial artist? What kind of commercial art did you do?
Well, we're talking about a long time ago, but I did.
Well, that's the beginning of all of us.
That was advertising. It was ads. It was the time when you had to do the color separation manually. So, but I never really get into that. I did work doing ads for department stores back in the early 70s, but only for a few years.
Now, you have some shows coming up, and you also have a place where if somebody's interested in buying your work, they can buy it. Where is that?
Oh, yes. I am a member of the Art Gallery of Viera at the Avenue, and my scarves, my pillows, my hats, most of the things I do on silk are there.
It's a fabulous gallery, by the way. I love that place, and some good friends of mine run it, and it's just an absolutely beautiful gallery if you haven't been there before.
It is.
Now, tell us about this pillow now.
Oh, this is one of the fortune pillows.
Fortune pillow? What's a fortune pillow?
It has a Chinese symbol in it, and it means always believe. And I think that if you're going to give, and I mainly did it for the holidays as a gift.
Oh,
you
nice.
want to give gifts to somebody you really like or something, you can give them a fortune pillow with a significant symbol in it.
Wonderful. And you also do clothing too, right?
I do. That's a sarong. That's the kind of things that you put on top of your bathing suit when you go to the beach and things like
really?
that.
That's gorgeous.
That's very long. You can use it in different ways. I have it there as a skirt. That's a scarf.
Very
and
nice.
It's a pickup, which I very love. The color is a beautiful color.
The peacocks are just wonderful.
They're adorable.
In the next picture?
That's a flower. That's a frame artwork. And it's in display at the Art Gallery of Viera.
Very nice.
Thank you. That's another fortune pillow. It says joy.
That's just wonderful. I love the pillows idea. That's really a very clever thing.
That's a set. There are people who like to have sets of pillows instead of just one.
And they're not matching. They're in the same flower family, but they're different, which I really like. That's
they're
really
larger or less design, but they can coordinate with whatever you have.
Very nice. And the next one?
That's my character. Among the many things that I do, I also do illustrations. I wrote a little short story about a fruit worm, and I did my character, which is Gus. And so I did that for a little bit.
This is the book right here. Now you have a series of these books, right? And
yes, it's volume 1, 2, and 3. It's a very happy fruit worm that goes from fruit to fruit and gets in trouble along the way. And I did it in both English and Spanish.
How wonderful.
Because of me being translator, interpreter, and all that, it helped me do it both in English and Spanish.
Right,
and that
and
way,
you said you do a lot of interpretations, right?
Yeah, I do interpretation for the courts and for all the businesses along the nation.
That's wonderful. And here's another picture, not a picture, but a pillow.
Another pillow full of flowers, also envelope, washable. The colors have been set in. And I love playing with different colors. I like to use all the colors that I have available.
Well, you have such a great touch on it. And let's see that last one here.
This is another pillow. This is more like a peachy kind of color.
Yeah, I love this.
Ooh. Also envelope. Also you can wash it. If you have cats, if you have dogs, don't worry.
Gladys, we're going to have you on the show, and you're going to have to show us a demo. And I think our producers already arranged that for you. We grabbed you up right away, and so hopefully people will, look back and find you when you come back on the show.
Oh, I would love to do that.
Because it's just amazing how with silk you can do something like this.
Yes.
And so you have, let's just remember, what are the shows again that you're going to be doing?
Well, besides the one at Port Canaveral, after that I have one that is very important. I belong to the Silk Painters International, and they're going to have a silk festival in Santa Fe, New Mexico, and that's going to be in July. And there's going to be a fashion show with silk wearable art.
Oh, wonderful.
There's going to be workshops, displays. Actually, I have one piece in display.
And you're part of Central Brevard
Yes.
Art Association. I'm going to have to take a short break, so we hate to say this to you, but we'll have you back.
Oh, thank you so very much.
We'll be right back with more Focus, so stay with us.
Every day, thousands of people are diagnosed with macular degeneration, a disabling eye disease that leads to severe vision loss. As a scientist conducting research for the American Health Assistance Foundation, I want you to know that there is hope that a cure and new treatments for macular degeneration will soon be found, but only if we can continue our groundbreaking research. Learn about my research. Call 1-800-437-2423 or visit ahaf.org for free publications on eye disease.
Welcome back to the second half of Focus. I'm Pearl Alley, your host, and tonight I have John Torres. John, welcome to Focus.
Great. I appreciate you having me. Thank you.
Well, you're just multi-talented. You've done all kinds of things here, and we've got a lot to go over, so let's get started.
Okay, sounds
good. Tell
good.
us a little bit about what you do.
Well, right now I'm a sports columnist at Florida Today newspaper, which is a dream job because I love sports, and I'm actually paid to offer my opinion on things. And,
isn't that fun? And we all know Florida Today, that's about the best paper in town.
The only paper in town, I think. But
the best and the only, and yours is where?
That's
Am
true.
I over here?
Here on the bottom, right here. There's me.
Okay, right down in here.
Yep, that's when I was over in St. Pete, and I met with Tim Wakefield, who's from Melbourne, as he was approaching a huge milestone in his career, and so I did an article about him, and I'm able to meet all the famous athletes, and I'm actually paid to go watch football games and the sporting events, so it's really wonderful. Yeah.
How fun! Now that isn't where you started, though. Tell us where you started out.
Well, geez, you know, for the last 10 years at Florida Today, I have been covering a lot of sad stories. I've been to executions. I've been to earthquakes and tsunamis, and I was it's almost like a joke at the paper. I'm our tragedy reporter. Is like what they said, and I loved what I was doing, but I didn't realize until moving to sports how draining emotionally it was.
Oh, really?
I would just take it home with me every single night, everything that I saw. I mean, I was in Haiti only about 20 hours after the earthquake. I saw bodies everywhere, and stuff was really, really horrible. So I'm loving sports now.
Wow. Maybe we can bring up some of those pictures now. That you can talk a little bit about them. Can you bring them up? Okay,
here's a shot of Haiti on the anniversary of the earthquake. That was about 6 months later, and I went back, and Joe Hurston, who's there in the middle, I actually travel with him often to Haiti. He's holding a starving child.
And he's from the...
He is well known because Extreme Home Makeover just remade his house last year up in Titusville, in like Port St. John area. And so right behind him you see all the tents. There are thousands of tents because there's like millions of Haitians homeless right now because of the earthquake.
Oh wow!
And so I just don't see that ending anytime soon, or having a like real happy ending.
Yeah. So that must be hard for you to see this and just. And this one?
Well, this is also Haiti, and this is Joe brings water purifiers all over the world, and so he brings clean water to people. And this guy was so thirsty, and he was really grateful to have some clean water. So it was just really wonderful. I just love that shot.
Yeah, that is a great shot.
Yeah. Here's unfortunately here's the actual day after the earthquake, and you'll see some dead bodies in the background there. And but the Haitians have to try to move on, and so this guy's just on his way to work, and he has an air mask on, so he doesn't have the smell. But it was really pitiful. It was really sad. That was me in Indonesia right after the tsunami, as we were trying to get to ground zero, and we had to hitch a ride on these Chinook helicopters with the Royal Singaporean Air Force.
Wow.
Which was really cool, actually.
So you really get experience from a lot of different ways.
And this is Indonesia, and the children there were so happy to see us because they just all thanked us for being there and for telling the story of what happened. You see that mud in the back of the photograph. 8 bodies were pulled out of there the following morning.
Oh, wow.
It was horrific. It really was, yeah.
We can talk all we want about what happens in the world, but when you see it in a picture, it changes everything.
I know. Here's a boat that was in about 2 miles from the ocean. And that's just, here it is,
look at
after that killer wave. Yeah, it was incredible. That was me in my boots in Louisiana. That was for Hurricane Gustav a few years ago. We were sent to go help our paper down there in Lafayette. Yeah, it was just flooding everywhere.
Now, do you go by yourself when you go, or do you take
I was
a troop?
Sent. I was sent there with a photographer and a videographer. And so we sent back stories, and we helped the local paper there out with with stories. Yeah.
Now, how did you get started doing that kind of thing?
Writing? Well, as a child, I read The Old Man and the Sea by Ernest Hemingway. And I just wanted to be a writer. Yeah, and I also loved reading newspapers every day. And my dad says that I would always go out in the morning and I would get the Post and the Daily News, and I would just read them from start to finish. And I just loved newspapers. And so I went to school at Fordham University in the Bronx. For journalism. I always knew what I wanted to do, and ended up down here in Florida at Florida Today, and I sort of just found my niche in just covering these sad stories.
Now, when you went from that, you've actually gone into doing all kinds of things, and I'd like to zoom in on this picture you have here. between us on, it's On Higher Ground, A Journey to Faith, and that's with your church group?
Well, no, I actually wrote that book last year.
Oh.
Yeah, that is my memoir, and I'm way too young to have my own memoir, but I found my way back to God in uncovering a lot of these world disasters.
Wow.
I found a lot of, hope and faith in hopelessness. Mm-hmm. And so I was hoping it would inspire people. We have a lot of atheists in journalism, and I used to be one of them. It's just because we see so many bad things, I guess, and have to report on so many bad things that there's not a whole lot of room for hope, I guess, and God. But He's there, and so I wrote this book last year. It's available on Amazon and at barnesandnoble.com.
Oh, wonderful!
And my website.
Great.
So.
And your website will be they'll show your website so that you can look in on that. And these are some of the other books that you've written. And I'll hold this one up here. Sure. This is on basketball.
Yeah, that's my newest book. I do a lot of sports books, and they are aimed at children, at male reluctant readers, it's called. It's the kid who likes to read these sports pages, who watches ESPN, but he isn't really keen on grabbing a book. And so here's one, for kids that want to learn how to play basketball, and it offers 25 really cool tips.
And this is just beautifully illustrated. Yeah. I mean, it's got very vivid pictures of sports. I don't know if you can zoom in on some of this. This is just wonderful.
Yeah, that's Enslow Publishers out of New Jersey. They actually are one of the leading publishers for children's books in school libraries. Yeah.
And you have another one here. It's football.
Football, yep. It's the same style.
And you said you have another one after you do. These are two that you've done, and then this is the Higher Ground. That's the other one that you've done.
I mean, all told, I probably have written about 50 books.
Really?
Yep, that have been published. You can go to my website, johnatorres.com.
Wonderful.
And check them out, and Amazon has them, and Barnes & Noble. But they're mainly sports books. And
now, when did you start writing that?
In the year
must have been pretty young.
Yeah. I try to do like about 3 or 4 a year.
Really?
Yeah.
And they're not real thick books, or they're...
Some are thicker than others. Yeah, it all depends on the publisher and the series. I mean, here's a series that is brand new, that was real specific, 25 tips and tricks on how to improve your game. And so,
now, you didn't take the pictures in here, right?
No, I didn't.
Okay, so you have the publisher does that type of thing?
Yeah, he handles that, yeah, and he has agreements with the NBA and the NFL and MLB, to get photos, I guess, pretty inexpensively.
Now, when you've gone from this book to this book, now when you write something, obviously your career is in writing, so when you start to feel, how do you feel a story?
Boy,
when you're starting a story, as a writer, how would you look at something like what you just saw, that tsunami, or how does you start that story?
Well, it takes a while to process it sometimes, and after that tsunami, I came back and I realized that I think that part of what our goal there was, our mission was to come back with some of the sadness from the of the people. So I just try to channel that into my writing and inspire people that way. I just finished my first novel, which is for the same publisher that did On Higher Ground. It's called The Harvest, and it's sort of about a lovable loser who gets caught in a situation in the Sudan when the genocide is about to start, and he's faced with some choices and so forth. So I think that'll be a pretty interesting read.
Now, when you're writing something like that, do you interview people, or do you get a lot of information from others to write those stories? Or?
Yes, absolutely. And I was also in Africa for a while on some stories for Florida Today. So I have a lot of Africa photographs, Africa stories.
What part of Africa?
Sure, I was in Zambia.
Zambia, okay.
Yeah, which it used to be called Northern Rhodesia, I think, and it is now Zambia. But I've also always been fascinated with the genocide in the Sudan, and so I've watched a lot of shows on that. And then I've interviewed people that have been there, from Harris and so forth, that I know, just to get my research done.
Boy, that's heavy.
Yeah.
That's heavy work.
Yeah.
And I know you've traveled to Africa, you said Indonesia.
Right, I've been to India for a story that I did on cruise ship workers and the exploitation of them, perhaps. I also spent 5 weeks in Italy. Now, that was a real tough assignment. I had 2 apartments, one in the Alps and one in Turin for the Winter Olympics.
That's very hard.
Yeah. I was lucky enough to be chosen, and I covered sledding sports.
Oh, wonderful.
So I had to learn about bobsled and skeleton and luge and so forth. And so that was a great time. And
is this one?
Well, that's from Nicaragua at a volcano. I went there a few years ago to do some stories and some mission work as well.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah. And here's a shot that I took. I just love these 2 girls were just running right past me, holding hands. I just turned and clicked, and I just love that symmetry in that photograph. Yeah.
That's wonderful.
It's really cool. Here's Haiti at one of the hospitals. I actually, you know, I can only take Haiti for about 4 or 5 days at a time. It's really a hard place to be in. So I went right after the earthquake. I returned back to Brevard for a week, and then I went back with some local doctors. And here are some doctors, you know, trying to help out at some local hospital.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. It's amazing how, you know, but maybe by you going there and being able to bring somebody back, explaining the situation, you know, that's what articles are about.
Right.
You know, when you write in a paper, you read something in a paper, it has so much impact on people, you have no idea. And just the smallest little sentence, you know, and they used to say in advertising, it doesn't matter how big, just the smallest little sentence could make a change in somebody's life.
Yeah.
And you're writing whole articles, so you have to be saying, in books, so you have to be saying a lot in them.
Yeah, it is really rewarding. I have a lot of people thank me, you know, when I'm at these places, you know, for actually being there and for caring enough to write about it and stuff. So it is rewarding.
Well, this has really been a very, very emotional show because you've got so many detailed things, and you go from sports to writing about faith.
Right.
And I've really enjoyed having you on the show,
thanks
John.
for having me. I really appreciate it.
Already. And we'll see you next week for more Focus. So until then, good night.